What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about a little guy named Hardy and his new album, A Rock, because I just had a real experience with it today, and I was like, this deserves its own video. I want to talk about Hardy. Now, I've talked about Hardy on the channel here before because he is one of the buzziest artists in country music at the moment. I did a video on him last year. The cliff notes of that video are basically that he's from Mississippi. Over the past few years, he has become a very in-demand songwriter in Nashville. He has helped pen songs like God's Country by Blake Shelton, Talk You Out of It by Florida Georgia Line, as well as like half of that Can't Say I Ain't Country album, and then also I Don't Know About You by Chris Lane. He then released a single called Rednecker that became a minor hit for him, and this was a really funny song because it was kind of taking the piss out of the whole debate of who's countryer than another person, and at the same time, a real celebration of redneck culture. And he released a collaboration project called Hicks Tape, a bunch of sort of fun party songs about being from the South. Nothing that serious, but suffice it to say that Hardy has been making a name for himself as a songwriter that is a cut above, who understands clever wordplay, and who can elevate songs to a place of memorability instead of the faceless drivel that plagues so much mainstream radio country. I think it's fair to say that people really saw the potential in his songwriting, even if at the time the music just felt kind of like harmless and fun. But he's an interesting character, and we've all watched his promo pictures evolve and his persona evolve into this kind of party rat hoodlum, almost like a little bit more mainstream of a Co Wetzel type character. And then, of course, when it just comes to notoriety, it does not hurt that he is good friends with Morgan Wallen. It's a pretty good person to be best friends with from an exposure standpoint right now. After Rednecker, he released One Beer, an interesting song about an unplanned pregnancy that's a collaboration with, who else? Lauren Elena, as well as Devin Dawson. And then after that, he started to release new music, the stuff on this current album, like Give Heaven Some Hell. Till then, give heaven some hell. Give Heaven Some Hell is a toast to a friend that has passed away, and Hardy hoping in his own country way that this guy is enjoying heaven, that he's hitting the streets of gold on two wheels. There's a way in which you could roll your eye at something like that, be like, what is this, a hymn for bro country? But taken a little less cynically, it was cool and nuanced, and it was elevating some of the tropes that we all grew to get tired of during the bro country era, when every single song seemed to be this objectifying, sleazy song about like, getting a girl to slide on into your truck and drinking and driving, you were taking her out to a field to hook up. But then it was time for A Rock to actually debut, and the album came out on Friday, and I've been listening to it a bunch this weekend, and it has just really, really surprised me. Now, the one thing I knew I liked going into the album was the cover. I think that kind of half black, half teal, cool duotone cover is just instantly recognizable. I love that about it. But I was definitely hesitant looking at some of the tracks on here. Like there was one called Truck, there was one called Unapologetically Country as Hell, and Hello, I'm the Guy That Hates Bro Country. Hello, I have a video called Stop Telling Us How Country You Are. Hello, I'm the one that attacked Florida Georgia Line, and now here's a guy recording with their same producer. And that might not be stuff that you're thinking about, and you shouldn't, but it's stuff that I do think about. But I listened to A Rock, and then I listened to it again, and then I listened to it again, and then I like wept one time while listening to the song Truck. And I was like, what the hell is happening? Have I had too much to drink? What is going on in my head that I just really am feeling something with this album? And it's not a perfect record to me either. I mean, sonically, I just feel like it's too loud. I don't like sometimes like the tinny and sometimes just the overly percussive production on it. Although it does sound great when you are driving to listen to that. I think this is an album meant to be played loud. It's not meant to be played in some sort of like gentlemanly, studyish living room like this. And yeah, some of the choruses can kind of run together and sound sort of similar for me. And yet I was sitting there smiling, laughing. It was all clicking to me. And I was like, am I crazy? Have I just lost the energy that I have for like Dustin Lynch's Tullahoma or any number of Luke Bryan and Jason Aldean and Florida Georgia Line songs? And I realized, no, I haven't lost that energy. I still hate things that feel dishonest and derivative to me. And Hardy doesn't. I actually think he hacked bro country. I think he made a great bro country record with all the best things about that trend and left out all the bad stuff. The songwriting on this album is fabulous. I think it is so specific and you get so many images to latch onto that tell the story, and even if the stories being told are ones that are very specific to country life. If you are a guy like me that drives a freaking Mercury sedan, you can relate to the honesty you are hearing in someone singing about hunting and riding around in his truck and cross tattoos of guys in his town. I don't need to personally relate to every lyric to really feel something and feel like I can empathize with someone's experience. And instead of just saying bullshit stuff all through the record, like we do what we do out here, which I'm guessing someone has sung, Hardy just provides you with images to latch onto and think about. On the song Truck, the album opener, which, yeah, let's take it down a notch. This is just a song about a truck at the end of the day. He gives you these little details as he breaks down the vehicle, basically, that elevate the song, that make this object tell a bigger story. And that part where he talks about the sticker on the back of the guy's car that says 1992 to 2012, that means that guy might have lost a friend and he's got a story that's hard for him to tell.
This story's about his best friend that he can barely tell, 'cause he misses him like hell.
That was actually the line that made me weep, and I think it's because I think so much country music is written in a way that either sort of cartoonifies like country culture or almost invites people to sneer at it, be like, oh gosh, it's just people celebrating how dumb they are out in the country. And this album never does that. I feel like all of the characters in it are written about very compassionately, and it's almost a celebration of bro-ishness in healthy and creative ways. There's other great images all through the record as well. I freaking love the song Unapologetically Country as Hell.
But I'm unapologetically country as hell.
It's absolutely my favorite song on this record. I can't wait to see people sing that song together outside. It feels like such a bar sing-along where everyone's kind of boozy at 1 a.m. But damn, the words in that song are amazing. The thing that made this whole record click to me was this one line on that song where it says, I spoon scale my perch. Like, he takes his fish, a perch, and he scales it with a spoon. What a rich line. Where else are you hearing that in country music right now, or at least in mainstream country music? And then other little bits are so clever too, where he says, I've got a fridge full of beer and a freezer full of good aim. A freezer full of good aim made me smile, as did the whole thing of like, I've got buck blood on my Sunday clothes.
My truck's where my money goes, got buck blood on my Sunday clothes.
Because then you are getting like so much context in that one line. You know that he went hunting, you know that he's going to church because he's in Sunday clothes, and you've got some time in there as well. That's what images do, and I feel like they do bring a lot of these songs to life. On the song Boyfriend, which I was again almost ready to cringe at based on the title,
I don't wanna be a boyfriend anymore.
I love that he doesn't like just take out an engagement ring. He says, I want to call up your dad, spend all my coffee can cash. It's a cooler way of saying a common trope. And if you're someone that's like, Grady, come on, you're just aiming low. There are so many independent songwriters. There are so many Laurie McKennas of the world that can do this stuff in their sleep. I hear you. I understand that point. A, I think Hardy's really good at what he's doing, and B, I think the context of who his fans are matter, because it really is like a party hardy young scene that likes Hardy. And I know a lot of you guys, you don't listen to every album that comes out. You don't listen to a Jimmy Allen EP when it gets released. You don't listen to a Chase Rice song when it gets released. I do. And I know that that stuff is popular and huge and terrible a lot of the time. So if I seem excited that there is a mainstream album with kind of bangers of productions, even if I think they bang a little too hard, that also has good lyrics, I am excited. I think it's cool. One Beer has great writing in it too. I love how he sets the scene of like the weak knees at a CVS and a door locked on the bathroom as this girl is taking her pregnancy test. I also love in the second verse when you are now looking at a young family and they're looking at the crayon stick figure drawing of the family, and you flash to 2 pink lines as she remembers back to the pregnancy test, and you literally go from crayon lines to the pink lines of the pregnancy test. The more I listened, the more I started to piece together how intricate and strong this writing is, even if it's using some pretty basic terms. A good example of good writing with a basic term is the title track, A Rock.
For the first time you stuck between a hard place and a rock.
This song's a little bit cheesy and a little bit profound at the same time, because it's literally using the image of a rock to trace the whole journey of life, from skipping a rock to proposing with a rock to, you guessed it, dying and having your name on a rock. Look out for the remix with Dwayne Johnson coming soon. When it comes to relationship songs on the record, I think it's fair to say Hardy is a little bit tortured and generally kind of pointing the finger at himself and saying he's not that good of a guy. In the song Boots, he literally just sleeps in his boots because he knows it's going to be his job to walk out the door in the morning.
I woke up in my boots this morning.
On Ain't a Bad Day, which is a pretty weird song that is literally imagining the apocalypse is impending. It's going to be the end of the world, but he told his baby to go to hell last night and got in a big fight with his girl, so I guess it's not a bad day for the world to end. On So Close, which is a duet with Ashland Craft, they're talking about a relationship that was so close to working, but didn't quite work, and she has an awesome voice. I almost think it's a little too similar to Hardy's. It's a pretty tortured and bombastic song that kind of reminds me of Kane Brown and Lauren Elena's What Ifs. Even when Hardy's feeling good in a relationship, I think he tends to express it in somewhat negative terms. He says, I hope you hate your hometown, about a girl that might want to go visit her hometown because he wants her to be with him. And I already talked about the song Boyfriend, where he says, I don't want to be your boyfriend anymore, as a way of proposing. And I think there's a point to be made here that Hardy writes about relationships in a really refreshing way. There's not that sleazy, sometimes bordering on like predatory vibe in any of these lyrics when he's talking about the women.
She got them show nuts coming in, runner up, Panama City with t-shirt. Miss Banana.
Those watermelons you got shoved in your pants make me want to flip down when you dirty dance. 36, 24, 39, girl.
No one is getting called a little beer holder. No one is getting told to slide their little self over. For as bro-ish as this album is, I think it's actually pretty mature in how it looks at relationships. All the moments of desire are balanced by moments of shame, and all the moments of enticement are balanced by doubt. I just feel like it feels really full and nuanced. And I think the same can be said about how he talks about country culture without demeaning city culture. There are no songs on here that are like small town throwdown that are like, I'm gonna get rid of these city slickers.
Somebody said them city boys riding around looking for some trouble.
They're much more celebratory in nature, and that kind of lets city slickers maybe like dip their toe into the pond and be like, would I like this? It's just refreshing. Sonically, I've already said this, but the album is just a rock album. It's well named a rock because that is what I would say this album is. This album has a lot more in common with like 80s rock than it does country. There's definitely some country elements in it, but I'd say it's a lot more southern rock inspired. It's got that standard huge percussive beat, which is very loud. It's not my personal taste. I'm always going to prefer something lighter. I'm going to prefer, more the John Party-ish side of mainstream country music. That's not what this is. These are kind of bangers, and I do think that sometimes takes away from some of the sentimentality of the lyrics, but it's the style of the record, I will say that. But that'll be a deal breaker for a lot of people. This is not a country album in the way that like a George Strait album is a country album. There's actually a follower of this channel that's now started his own channel called Overshore. I think that's the name of it. He's doing awesome. He's just posting these animated reviews. And it was in one of the videos on his channel that he said he thinks country and rock are better partners than country and pop. And I agree. I think it is as simple as it is more instrumental, whereas pop, when you're layering in some of the beats, it's gonna feel more plastic. And I think oftentimes when songs feel kind of plastic, the words end up following suit. I haven't talked about this yet either, but I think Hardy has a great voice.
My town's smaller than your town. I got a bigger bucket bass on my wall. And
I actually enjoy hearing the rasp in it, and I think he has a bigger range than a lot of people would give him credit for. So those are my basic thoughts. But overall, I would say it's clear to me that Hardy is a great storyteller and a strong entertainer that has an intuitive sense of when something needs to be a little bit sillier or when a concept just needs to be slightly tweaked to make it fresher. To be frank, I don't know if this is a video essay or if this is an album review. I don't know what this is. I think it's almost just me trying to put a period at the end of the chapter of Bro Country, because that era is so iconic and so reviled among many country fans, and among many others, it's so popular and so exciting, and it feels like Hardy is the common ground we've sort of needed. And if this inspires other mainstream songwriters to just get a little weirder, a little more specific, take a few more chances in their writing, I feel like that is a huge win for everyone. This album just unlocked something in me, and it might be that it's Labor Day weekend and the students just came back to school and there's like an energy in the air here. But I just loving this album this weekend, cranking it up, singing along to Unapologetically Country as Hell, and just appreciating this album as a blockbuster with a big old bucket of popcorn when it feels like 2020 has been like a never-ending, silent, black and white indie movie. Basically, all I'm trying to say is that this album captures the humor, the fun, the party energy of bro country without all the sleaziness and derivativeness that we disliked about bro country. When I decided to do this video a few hours ago, I put up a post on Instagram and said, weigh in with your thoughts on the album. Holy crap, y'all. I don't know that I've ever gotten that many responses, and that says to me that there is a lot of passion around Hardy. So let's just see what some of you guys said. We had Christian saying, overproduced, very simply. Caleb says, I think as far as mainstream, he's actually pretty far out of your normal mainstream. He's not afraid to be himself, and it shows in his songwriting and also the production. Reminds me of a more mainstream Co-Wetzel. I'm a big fan, and I'm here for it. Totally agree on the Co-Wetzel comment. John says, I can't get over the writing. I've had the album on repeat since Friday. You can dislike the sound and production as not country, but it's authentic. It's Hardy. No one writes more thoughtful and memorable hooks than Hardy right now. Music is the same subject material, but he has a way of finding an extremely creative, untold slant to basic themes. Totally agree with that point. Ryan says, I loved Hixtape, but it was a lot of the same bro party songs besides One Beer. So I love how Hardy really went all out creatively on this one with stuff like A Rock and Give Heaven Some Hell. He's such a smart writer. Unapologetically country as hell, Ain't a Bad Day are my other standouts. 8.5 out of 10 album for sure. This is a long one, but I like it. I look at it like this. Good country music is good storytelling. Tell your story and whatever type of country music behind it, and I'll give it a listen. When I say that, I consider myself someone that would rather rock out than chill out and listen to something soothing. You listen to a guy like Colter Wall, and yeah, his voice and writing is great. But if I have the aux around friends and family, I'm not going to put on Cowpoke. But I won't have any problem putting on Give Heaven Some Hell, whether I'm golfing, boating, or hanging outside with friends and family, and they will love the upbeat tempo and great lyrics and could accept it being country over rock. There's one comment in here that I can't find, but someone said like, yeah, this feels like something that people that like Barstool Sports would like. Just from observation, it's definitely clear to me that there is something very male appealing about Hardy. There's a lot more dudes that want to party to this stuff than I think girls, but there's a number of girls up here in the comments. Like here's one from hashtag Amy Catherine. This sounds like an FGL album, but I don't hate it like one. It's so shady. Chase says, I rolled my eyes at the start of the title track, but by the end I was impressed. And that happens to me with many of his songs. Definitely a clever writer, which I admire about him. Rachel says, I listen to a ton of country music, mainstream, indie, Texas, etc. And up until this point, Hardy hasn't significantly stood out to me as something special, intriguing, solid. This album is a game changer though. These songs are actually good. In my opinion, they're easy to listen to, not so overdone that I get sick after one song, and the lyrics are solid fire. And creative with somewhat of a bro country vibe without the overused dumb references a lot of those type of songs repeatedly have. That last comment is pretty indicative of what most of these are saying. There's no way I can read them all. So for a lot of people, it sounds like Hardy has refreshed a sound that they felt got really stale and that it was actually keeping them from getting into country music. And for some people, it's just not going to be for them. This person just said, let me know when you get some George Jones in the mix. I'll let you know. I would say go watch my Colter Wall video, go watch my Texas video. I try to cover the mainstream and indie stuff on this channel, but when something's good, something's good. And I feel like I have been crowing a lot about how like the Luke Bryan album is really good and mainstream country doesn't suck right now. And this Hardy album is interesting and good, but that's fun, right? Like, I don't want to be a country fan to dislike it most of the time. It's fun to like stuff. So let me know your thoughts on Hardy, your thoughts on A Rock. Let me know if you experienced any of the same stuff I did with this album. Let me know what you think, and I'll be back with more country music coverage pretty soon.